Today's video, we are going to talk about keypad scoring as it comes to making and tagging the leads that you're getting through your PPC campaigns so that you understand the value of what those leads are, so you could tell your Google account or your Google Ads account or your Facebook Ads account what's working, which calls are driving basically your profit, so that these algorithms that drive your ads on Google Ads, Facebook Ads, also Bing Ads, can get you more actual profit that you want. Without the right quality data going into your ad account, the results simply just aren't going to be nearly as good. Which is why you want to, even though this is going to take you a little bit of extra work to set up initially to get a process going, is worth every penny, because you could triple, if not 4, 5, 6x the amount of money that you're going to make from your PPC ads long term, having this simple keypad scoring element added in as a part of your overall PPC strategy. So I'll go through what keypad scoring is, best practices for doing it. Of course, this is tied to call tracking, and I'm going to explain how call scoring is done specifically through the call tracking software Callrail, so that to be able to use it to be able to make more money with your PPC campaigns, the way that we're doing it for dozens of our clients here at our PPC agency. So with that said, I'll get right into the content. As I've said before on this channel, first of all, a lead does not equal a lead with your PPC. So in other words, far too many people, basically when they're running a PPC campaign, if they're doing lead generation, i.e. you're not trying to do an e-commerce, sale, if you will, or even if you do e-commerce, if you're selling something over $100, you got to get leads, because if somebody's spending $1,000, many times aren't going to be comfortable buying something unless they've talked to someone at the company first to make sure it's a, legit company, if you will, or just feel more comfortable about the process in general with a brand they never heard of before. With that, they'll expect that if they don't track, whether a phone call comes in at all to guide their campaigns with, they will track whether or not a call came in to use that data and information to guide their Google Ads campaign with, their Facebook Ads campaign with. But there's so much disparity between what the value of one type of call that comes from one keyword or one audience versus what another lead is that comes in off of a different keyword or audience, that practically speaking, you are going to end up with a third of the profit or even less of what you would have ended up otherwise if you would have took what you kind of probably already inherently know about, one lead being different than another lead, or one keyword being different than another keyword, and using that to actually steer your account with, versus just winging it, not putting together the system so that your ad account can actually improve based upon the right data that you need, i.e. traffic that's driving you profit. So ultimately, the reason why you're going to make 3, 4, 5 times as much money adding keypad scoring to your process, which is going to let you evaluate one type of lead that you're getting versus another type of lead that comes from a different keyword or a different source, different audience, whatever, and plugging that into your account and getting more results, is because what you'll find, just to keep it simple, if we're talking about search ads, one keyword will drive a lead that's 10 times less profitable than another keyword, because different people that type in different things have different levels of intent, seriousness, they have a different profile and type of customer that you're generating, and on and on and on. Same thing applies with their age, their gender, the time of day of the week they're searching, what state they're from, what city they're from, are they a parent, non a parent, how old they are, so on and so on and so on. And to be able to basically go in and identify how much money you're making from male versus female, this age bracket versus this other age bracket, and then being able to take a static ad budget and constantly allocate the ad budget you have that's producing return below average returns, so keep reallocating it to the part of the account that produces above average returns, and being able to do that because you're stacking up more and more data about what, that tells you what part of your account's producing above average versus below average results, and then being able to reallocate your budget because you actually have that level of awareness of what's working and what's not. You will be able to at least triple the profitability of your entire campaign that you're running just by figuring out what one lead's worth versus another, and then being able to see that in your account. And Keypad scoring is one basically free way that you're going to be able to do this, which is also very easy for any company to institute and do. There's other ways to do what I'm mentioning where, when a call comes in, you send data back to your ad account that generated that call or where the call came from, whether that's Google ads, Bing ads, Facebook ads, and then putting that data back into your account so that you could see exactly what time of the day they searched, what keyword they searched, how old they were that generated that quality call. Keypad scoring is an automated way to be able to do that, which essentially, when your call is done, all you have to do, and all you have to train your salespeople to do, is at the end of the call, you hit, at least if you're talking about Callrail, which is the only call tracking software I would recommend you use anyway, and I'm not sponsored by Callrail here. You hit star key on your phone, and you type in a number of what you value that lead at, so that eventually when you've built up enough, you went through enough sales calls, you'll be able to go back into your ad account and see where all the sales, quality sales leads came from versus the shit quality leads that you don't want as much of or any of. So ultimately, the main reason why this is important, because I know you're saying, well, I'll take any lead that, or any person that kind of wants to buy. The problem with that, by the way, if you haven't realized it yet, is you have a lot of bots that are going to go through your website and call your phone number that are specifically looking to do phone spam. You have people looking for jobs that are going to be going through and clicking through your ads and getting your site, which clients ask me this question all the time, by the way. Why the hell are we having all these people calling and looking for a job off of our ads? Can't you fix that? And the reality is, which they don't like hearing it, but I don't, mess around and tell people the bullshit to make them feel better. When somebody's searching for a job, if you were the person looking for the job, what would you do? If you got fired from a flooring company and you wanted to get a job at another flooring company, what would you do? You would just type in flooring companies, Phoenix, in Google, find the flooring companies in Phoenix, and then you would just start calling them. Hey, you looking for a worker? How can I apply? So they're not going to type in Phoenix flooring companies, Phoenix flooring company jobs, because they would know the ads that are going to pop up are not going to give them it's not going to give them, in other words, the search results that they want. So they just type in what everybody else that you want to go after, essentially, and they end up draining your budget. Now, that said, there are micro nuances there. They may type in almost basically the same things as somebody, the job seeker that is, versus somebody who legitimately, in that case, if you're being a flooring company that wants to get a new floor installed. But, as mentioned before, on all these different levels of your account, there'll be trends in the type of people who are typing in flooring companies Phoenix that are looking for a job versus somebody looking to get some flooring legitimately installed. It may be 80% of the time that somebody's looking for a job, the age of the person's under 35 years old. You wouldn't be able to necessarily maybe even pick that up if you didn't have the data in your account that told you which of the calls you were getting were legit calls versus which calls you were getting were not legit calls. And ultimately, and here's the kind of the kicker here that really kicks people in the ass when they're not doing this keypad-based scoring, particularly when they're getting a high amount of these bullshit bogus calls that they don't want, is they set up their account using automated bidding to try to get leads, for as many cheap leads as they can, and the cheapest lead is rarely going to be the best quality lead, or at least the leads that you get or the calls you get that are the highest percentage of good quality calls. Why is that? Because Google's, and also Facebook, but mostly Google, has a bidding system, and naturally the places that's going to be the most expensive to advertise and get a click from are going to be the most competitive places, and the places that are the most competitive, naturally over time, people are going to gun for the places that are more profitable and has the better quality leads. Maybe not to a very high level, but respectively, all it takes is a slight gradient there to where over time, you tell your Google account, I want as many cheap leads as I can get it, and it's going to go for the cheapest leads, whether it's only, there might be a 20% cheaper leads on this one side of the market, which that side of the market has 60% crappy leads of the total that you get, if you're following my logic here. So you cannot, and the Google's algorithm that steers your campaign cannot differentiate whether going after a cheap lead is good or not. And if you told Google to go after the most expensive leads, that also isn't necessarily going to automatically get you the best results, because you just may be paying too much for the lead. So the only way to really know for you as the person who wants to optimize your account on your side manually, and Google's algorithm to optimize your account, the only way in many cases where you're going to have to generate leads and generate lots of phone calls is to actually import whether or not that call was a quality call. It was a legit call that was an actual qualified inquiry and not a bot that was dead air, or was a job seeker. Or another thing that's big is salespeople. Salespeople do the same bullshit that the job seekers do. Typing in Phoenix Flooring Companies, then they call, hey, are you interested in SEO, or are you interested in radio advertising? Have you thought about it? Which people, you're paying $30 a click for some sales asshole to come through and ask you if you want to advertise after burning up the advertising budget you had to reach legitimate customers. Really burns a lot of people's asses when they do that. But there's only one way to block them, because since there's so many, you can't they'll never stop coming in. It's just wave after wave of these assholes doing this to you, is to let the algorithm and look at your account after you have the proper data to figure out statistically where can we weed out. There'll be 20% of your account where 80% of these assholes come in from. And that 20% might have some legitimate calls, but it's mostly these assholes. You block that 20% out, and mostly the amount of people that you had coming in that are not the kind of leads you want goes down to 20% or less than what you had before. Or it's less than 20% of the total calls you get, and then now you've got a campaign that can be very profitable. Whereas in a lot of cases, we're having it where clients, there's so many salespeople and so many bots and so many job seekers that the campaigns literally are not even profitable if they don't do this level of lead level, optimizing for quality leads inside their ad accounts on Google, because there's so many of these other odd type people burning up their budgets. So this keypad scoring will completely solve that issue completely for you, or for the most part enough to where the few crappy calls that you do get after employing this method of keypad scoring, it ain't going to affect you. It's just a small cost of doing business versus something that can totally turn your entire campaign into negative ROI, or having a negative ROI. So there are multiple ways to do, by the way, this kind of process where inside your ad account you can see where the quality calls came from and the non-quality calls. Keypad scoring is just one of them. If you wanted to, you could do something called offline conversion tracking using a manual upload process, or through a CRM using an automated upload process, which what that is you're simply going to, of course, use Callrail or a call tracking program, which inside that program you're going to have all the calls recorded, which is a feature of those softwares. And once a month, basically, if you're doing it the manual way, we'll just start with the manual way, you go ahead and you export the list of customers inside your billing system. And, and with that, you go through the calls and you see basically the names that you have in your customer database. If those customers' names match up with the calls you had come in, which you'll have to listen to every call, because they usually state who they are on the call if they're a legitimate lead, right? And so if you hear the same name on the call recording as you did see in the customer database of yours, that's the time where you could take what is called the Google Click ID or Facebook Click ID or Microsoft Click ID, pass that little, which is like a unique serial number that's tied to every ad click that these systems have. You pass it back to your ad platform, and then they'll tell you where that call came from. Time of the day they searched, day of the week they searched, keyword they used, audience they came from, on and on, ad they came from, on and on and on and on. So you can see exactly where it came from itself. So, and there's a way to do that automatically if you use like a CRM system like Zoho or Salesforce. In that, you can, when you basically mark a deal qualified, it automatically sends a signal and sends that same code you need back to the ad platforms to indicate where inside your ad account specifically that qualified lead came from. So that's one way to go about adding the lead level data inside your ad account, so your ad account can actually be steered in the right direction and you get the extra, profit that you're missing right now if you're not doing this. The second way to do lead level tracking, if you will, inside your ad accounts to get the rest of your profit is to do Callrail's conversion intelligence. So this is a simple little feature that, I guess I wouldn't call it so simple, but a feature that Callrail has that when a call comes in through, if you want to call it AI, you can call it AI, but it'll analyze the call recording for keywords. And you could give it keywords and you could say, Callrail, if they use the word appointment or how much or whatever, I want you to send a signal back to Google saying the call was qualified. And so this actually prevents you, of course, from having to, go through what I mentioned with the offline conversion tracking process itself. Give that data back to Google through, normally what you would give that data back to Google through a spreadsheet. If you're going to do it manually, you write the code down on a spreadsheet, and then all the calls that turn into a qualified call itself, you upload all of those click IDs into a spreadsheet, then to the ad platform. With the conversion intelligence, you hook up Callrail to the ad platform that you're operating from itself, and then obviously after giving it a few keywords to search for in each call that's coming in, you can send that signal back to Google or Facebook or Microsoft ads to indicate inside the account and show you where that qualified call came in if it was a qualified call. So that's another way you can do it. The problem with that one is it's $50 extra a month to do that. And it's worth every penny if you're not doing lead level tracking. And the time it takes, to do the manual upload, it certainly is worth it. There is also a downside that it's not as accurate as manually listening to the call. Because obviously certain calls are not going to use the keywords that you give it as trigger keywords, and you're going to miss certain calls. And respectively, that actually matters a lot, because all you need is it to be off by 20 or 30% to have a major, major, major impact on your long-term results. It's worth it to do it right and to make sure every quality call is sent, not just some of them. But that is an option. The third way you could go ahead and do lead level tracking inside your ad accounts is to do manual call value box update through Callrail. So through Callrail itself, going back to that, next to each call, there's a box that allows you to put the value of the call in. So what you could do is, instead of going with the first example where you take the click ID, put it into a spreadsheet, upload the spreadsheet to the ad platform, you could actually have it to where Callrail is directly integrated, which, similar to using conversion intelligence, you could have your Callrail account integrated with these app platforms, or whatever ad platform you're using, and basically on the call, on the record of where the call came in on Callrail, they have a box that says value. And if you plug in a value there, if you've integrated Callrail with your ad account, where it'll show you that value you plug into Callrail inside your ad account. So you don't have to upload any spreadsheet or anything like that to these ad platforms. You can simply fill in that box and then, bingo, right away it shows up in your account. Obviously, in that situation, you're going to have to go ahead again, like once a month, go through every call recording, listen to the call, see if it was qualified or not, put in something into that value box to see that, to show inside your ad account where that qualified call or where all the qualified calls came from. It's not info about one qualified call that matters. It's the cumulative effect of having dozens or hundreds of qualified calls and that related data inside your ad account, because that's where the major moves can be made inside your account using the cumulative data that you collect. But that's another way. You could do lead level tracking in your ad accounts. The fourth way is through call scoring. Now, this particular video is supposed to be dedicated to. So I just wanted to let you know that there's other ways to do this other than call scoring. But to do call scoring itself, it's simple. Like I mentioned before, all you have to do, instead of doing all this other stuff, all you got to do is train your salespeople to, at the end of the call, when the customer hangs up, but before you hang up, you hit the star, using Callrail that is, if you're using Callrail to do this, the star symbol, and then you type in the value of the call. You could put 100, 200, whatever you want to do. Whatever you type in there will show up in Callrail, and then it'll automatically be sent to your ad platform. So what the benefit of this is versus the other three is there's nothing to upload to Google manually through using a spreadsheet. Also, it'll be accurate. It's not like conversion intelligence because you obviously are going to have a human reviewing the call. And it's also better than updating the value box in Callrail manually because you don't have to go through once a month and listen to each call, because once the call is over with, all the salesperson has to do is enter the call value at the end of the call, and that automatically will then show up in your ad accounts. So it's kind of the best of all the options, assuming the drawback still, like there's drawbacks to everything, your salespeople have to remember to put in the value of the call at the end of the call. So if you think you're going to tell your salespeople to do this and they're going to miss 20, 30, 40% of the time, or i.e. forget, your data is not going to be clean and your ad account is going to suffer. And obviously the more that they forget, the more your campaigns are going to suffer. So whereas with conversion intelligence, there's no forgetting. With the call scoring method that I explained that you can go that route with, that they can forget. So naturally with this, I'll just tell you from experience, if you use the call scoring, you're not going to just want to tell your salespeople once and then assume they're going to remember forever. No. Once a month, you're still going to have to, and the way that you would tell, by the way, is you would go into Callrail and you're going to listen to the call recordings. And if you don't hear them hitting at the end of the call, like there's where it's clear they're hitting like the star key, because it'll be like the little sound that you hear, the tone you hear when you hit a number basically on your phone. If you don't hear that at the end of the call, which indicates that they scored the call, then you got a problem. You got to go back to your salespeople. And I would just basically say, easy way to fix this. If you did not score the call, you do not get your commission. So you could just simply say, and obviously this is going to sound threatening, and just by it being threatening, you may not have to even check on them very much. If you basically say that you made a sale, and we found out you didn't score the call, your commission, you don't get it. And if you did that, that should scare them enough to basically want to do it every time. It's similar to how I hear people manage their CRM, because a lot of times salespeople don't want to put information into their CRM, and I've heard people just say, if it's not in the CRM, you don't get paid on your commission, period. And then with that, suddenly the CRM gets used. So anyway, just some extra food for thought on best, how to get best results out of this call keypad scoring system here. So anyway, in terms of the keypad scoring, to get specific on how to set this up, if you're sold on this, which you should be, because you're going to get way more results, like I said, like upwards of 5 times as much results long term once you've built up enough keypad scoring data to your ad accounts. So the first step would just be set up Callrail to begin with. Get a Callrail account, set it up on your site, all that stuff. 2, set up Callrail goal using the Callrail integration. So if you use the Callrail integration, they have integrations with Google, Facebook, Microsoft Ads. You set up an integration so that when you get a call, that data automatically gets sent to these ad platforms, whatever you're using, okay, using the Callrail integration. Once you've done that, you're going to develop a scoring system. Now, scoring system would be, because after the call is completed, and before the salesperson hangs up the phone or the receptionist hangs up the phone, they got to hit the star key and then have to enter a value so that value can show up in your ad account. Now, what value should you send? You should come up with something simple like ultimately, if the call was a valid lead, you would have the score be 100. And if it wasn't a valid lead, then the score is 0, basically. And you don't even have to score the call if it wasn't a valid lead. That's what I would do. That's what we do on our clients' campaigns and what we tell our clients to do. If, for instance, the call resulted in an immediate booked appointment, you could have the call score being 150 versus 100. So did they just ask, like they wanted to buy, but they didn't set an appointment, 100. If they asked to set an appointment, 150. Now, you shouldn't just wing this. You should go into your CRM or look at the leads for the last year and find out ultimately what's the closing rate of people who called in and set an appointment versus didn't set an appointment in terms of the number of what percentage of the total calls came in turned into a sale or a deal. And with that, you'll find out that if the initial call, in other words, where they came from the ad and got to the site and then they called, if they booked an appointment right away, you're going to find that person who booked appointment converted into a sale at a higher rate than if they just called and asked about the service itself or products itself, if you're talking about that. And then with that, so you'll get a mathematical ratio of the conversion rate to a sale off of a call versus one type of a call versus another type of a call. With that, you can then have your spread on your call value. So the call value spread represents the differentiation of the true value of a call, one type of a call versus another type of a call. So, technically, if you wanted to get even more sophisticated, you could find the rate in which a call usually turns into a sale and what the average lifetime value of a sale is, and then divide the lifetime value of a sale versus divided by the number of calls it takes to get a sale to get your average value per call, and then have that be the value you have your salespeople type in to score the call using the keypad scoring feature of Callrail after the call, and that therefore then shows up in Google Ads. Why? Or whatever you're using to run ads. Why? Because now you can do your bidding adjustments inside your account, or your adjustments inside your ad account based upon ROI, not just this arbitrary value number that indicates that the call was quality. That would be your way that I would recommend going about doing it, because that's going to get you the most accurate results. But even if you were just to send data about, indicating that the call was a quality call, that's going to get you tons more results, even just having done that. But I would still recommend, at the very least, you should try to, that is, if you do like online booking of appointments, that you try to come up with a different value for the people that turn into an appointment on the first call versus the not, because it's so much. That's going to give you so much more additional leverage to what you're doing, and results having done that little extra step of valuing the different types of calls you could get differently based upon how qualified and what's the likelihood to turn into business given the type of calls that you have that come in that are actually still qualified. So anyway, that's what you're going to do as far as developing a scoring system. Now, once you have that, obviously you can give that to your sales staff, tell them about the keypad scoring method, have them start scoring the call, maybe even write it down on a piece of paper, sticky note on the computer, whatever, so they don't forget it, and they don't forget the value that they're supposed to put in there so they don't get it wrong. Because obviously, you're really going to screw yourself up if they start typing it wrong. So I do recommend putting it on a little paper and listing it and on every person's cubicle or whatever, or on the back of their company phone or whatever, so they don't forget it over time. Because it's easy to say, oh, they won't forget it. Well, what about 6 months from now? It's easy to forget shit. So once your staff has a scoring system, obviously after each call they're going to press the star key, like I was telling you how to do this, and then they're going to give the call a score. Either all calls are getting one score, or based upon the type, how the call, or what type of call that came in, what it was, they're going to get a different score based upon the category of call that came in, if you will. So for a lot of you guys, one score is going to be good enough. For some of you other guys, you might have 2 or 3 different scores based upon what kind of quality, qualified lead came in. So obviously you can make up your mind what you want to do there, but ultimately, once you've got all that done, these call scores are starting to come in. They're showing up in your ad account. Once you've gotten at least 30 calls where the call score has been piped into your account. That's the time, if you haven't done it already, you're going to change the bidding strategy on your campaigns from maximize conversions, if we're talking about Google Ads, to maximize conversion value, which is going to optimize for the value in the value section of your account, not whether a conversion came in. So in other words, instead of just optimizing and using Google's algorithm or the ad platform's algorithm to optimize for calls, it's going to start optimizing for quality calls, because it's going to look at the value number to optimize your campaign versus, i.e., the number of conversions that came in. So ultimately, what you'll see, since you'll have when you do the Callrail integration with your ad account, you'll see the goal inside your ad account set up for phone calls. Once you add in the keypad scoring, that same goal, instead of when a call comes in, not only will it trigger and say a call came in, it'll also have whatever the keypad scoring was show up as the value under that call. So like if you're talking about Google Ads here, in the conversion menu, it'll say phone call as for your phone goal, like to indicate, for the goal set up for phone calls coming in. And it'll have conversions and then conversion value into it, next to it. And if you're not doing the keypad scoring, the conversion value will be blank. And then when a call comes in, the conversion number will go up. But if you have the keypad scoring added in and the call was qualified, therefore the call could be scored with the score that you've given people to type in when a call is noticed as a qualified call, then the conversion value will go up for those particular calls, if you will. So it takes about 30 calls to get enough statistically significant data for the algorithm to be able to make decent decisions on the data that you're giving it. And before that, ultimately you would be better off using the data on whether a call happened or not to steer your ads. Whereas if you get over 30 calls with the conversion value there imported into your ad account through having the keypad scoring, that's the time you get more accurate results, basically, because you have enough data by then to switch to maximize conversion value and use the conversion value to steer the account. So then it goes from trying to get you more calls to more qualified calls. And if you're doing Facebook, you're going to switch to the ROAS goal for the bidding strategy, which is the same thing as what I talked about with Google, which, like I said, it's going to go for calls that are qualified calls versus just calls by itself. So ultimately, and then like I said originally at the start of the video, the more qualified calls that you get where the call data, the call value that's typed in at the end of the call that you get, the more accurate your results and the better your results will get, because Google will have more and more data to go on about what was working to steer your ads in a better and better place. And of course, you as the user could go in there and make inferences. You could say, 30 and under, there's like no qualified calls at all from that, so let's just shut that off right away. Let's not wait for the algorithm to shut that off. And you can start doing that. And ultimately, a lot of people think if they're using automated bidding, they don't need to make any of those adjustments. We found this is not the case. You'll also do better if you're going to make bidding adjustments on these certain age demographics and stuff, in addition to the algorithm working to try to get you more conversions. So naturally, you want to do both. You want to optimize it on your side using the data you have, and obviously the algorithm will use their resources to optimize your ads to get you the most results you can with the least amount of data and the least amount of time to get you the most amount of results, basically. So anyway, with that said, that's the process that we go through and what you want to go through if you're going to switch to using this keypad scoring to make your lead generation campaigns that you have phone calls coming in get you better results. If you have a lot of form leads coming in as well, or even chat leads, you want to do a version of the same thing. Of course, it's not going to be as easy and you can't use keypad scoring, but you want the information about those leads coming in, whether the lead was qualified or not, because the same exact thing that I just talked about as far as calls applies to the form leads. And you want to, half the value, people don't get this, half the value of what you're spending through and with your ads comes from the collection of data that tells you what doesn't work. It's just like, trying to get into business. When you started off in business, you tried a bunch of stuff. A bunch of stuff didn't work. But for every 10 things you tried, one thing worked really well, and it made up for the 9 things that didn't work. And then you tried 10 other things, or you hired 3 employees. 2 of them sucked, but that one person was pretty good, so you kept them. And then you hired 3 more. This is the way of business. This ad stuff is exactly, or even more so, the same way. You're never going to get results right away. People always want to be able to do an ad and it works right away, and that's very rare that happens. 98% of the time, you have to try stuff, and only a small part of what you did worked. And you only know if that small part worked if you have the right tracking, like I was talking about today. But half the value of what you're investing in your ads is from the sales you get directly from it. But the other half is half the value at any time that you have from your ad spend is how to get better results in the future. And naturally, your ad spend at any given time, half of that investment is an investment in future results, which will be better. So if you don't get results right away, it's not a matter of if you will get results if you have something that's halfway decent in your marketing. It's a matter of when. How much data do I need to collect to figure out the exact part of the market that I should be advertising to? And then waiting until you get it, or spending enough money until you get it. And then from there, it'll work from there on. So this is a common misconception as it comes to advertising. It's not just a get-rich-quick scheme. You generally have to invest to figure out what doesn't work, to find out what to focus on specifically. Keypad scoring is basically the best way to do this if you're generating phone call leads, to weed out all the bad calls so you don't have to pay for them eventually, and get the half of the value out of the ad spend you are spending that you basically can get. It's just up to you whether or not you get it or not, or you throw it away like most people do. So with that said, I'll wrap it up. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I have a lot of other videos on this channel about other money-making PPC strategies. Ultimately, if you want to learn a lot about PPC and making money, this is the channel for you. I also have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog where you can find other excellent information on how to make money with PPC, given it's my strategies and stuff that I'm using for about 4 dozen different PPC accounts at any given time. The stuff that we're doing that worked, we give it to you on a golden platter on this channel and on my blog for you to learn and use or not. It's the best information I know of on the web as it comes to actual working information that you could use to make money on your PPC campaigns right away, which is why I put these resources together. So with that said, if you have any questions about anything that I covered today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel. If you have any general questions about PPC, feel free to ask them in the comment section as well. I get back to everybody in either way, basically. Beyond that, if you consider also, liking the video, and I have a brand new program at our PPC agency where we're offering a turnkey type PPC campaign package to people that don't want to hire a PPC management agency to manage their campaigns with a full service type package, in that somebody's going to come in and manage all of your ads for you. If you don't really want that, or you're just starting out, instead you can actually figure out what results we've gotten in what markets we've gotten it in, and if you're in a different geographic market that doesn't directly compete with our clients, or basically haven't worked with, you're in a different market than one of our past clients where we got results in that market from, you can actually just buy the campaign templates that work for that market and start it up in your market and get results right away without having to go through all the learning curve of what works in that market. In other words, we've had clients who wanted to start up a painting business in one market, and instead of trying to do a PPC campaign themselves, they would just take our ads, landing pages, the entire thing that worked for a painting business in another geographic market, copy and pasted those results into their own account and in their own unbalanced account and all that, and got really, really good results within the first 3 months already for their geographic market, because they took the results that we had to spend years to optimize and build up for that, client in that same market in a different geographic market, and you're just getting the gold-plated version of it for your own account. And we've had people that did that, outsourced all the work to a local provider, and had mostly a passive income business just because they had the campaign that was already producing millions of dollars of results in one market used in their market. So anyway, if you're curious about that, maybe we got results in your market already, reach out to us. We'll let you know what we have as far as results and what markets we have results in. So with that said, though, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It was educational, and I hope to see you on my next video where we have another great strategy for you there. See you there.